you get a bunch of guys that have been through some times in their lives, not necessarily military or, their civilian life, but just rough times in their life that they write about, and it brings them closer together for sure.
After seeing Frank go through the writing workshop, it became clear to me that this was a need that all veterans could benefit from. It's not always beneficial to continually revisit traumatic issues, but I think once he did do it in the way that he did it, publicly and privately through the writing, he was able to heal internally. And when he faces future stressful issues in the future, he'll no longer get into that fight, flight, or freeze kind of syndrome. He'll be able to work through the trauma because he now has better coping skills.
I've been through, like, let's say, PTSD group. So I found our writers group to be cathartic. And even though we were not specifically with a therapist, a psychologist, expounding on our experiences and how they affected us and all that, but I found it an easier way to deal with things that I've had inside me. Putting those feelings into words and those words on paper.
Well, the writing workshop is very different because a therapy group is where a number of veterans, more than one, possibly up to 10, participate in some type of PTSD related group. And they're all revisiting the trauma publicly in front of people that they don't know, but they have to take certain risks. I think where the writing workshop is beneficial is it allows the person to write the story at their own pace. It allows them to do it in a private, intimate way where it's not so risky because PTSD involves trusting a great deal. And that's not something that people come to the table with. It's something that's developed over time.
I've been involved in with the VA and been in group sessions, therapy sessions, and what often happens is whether it's a group or one-on-one, people have an opportunity to regurgitate their experience, and then once it's out there, they kind of feel a relief that it's out there, but it's still there. The thing about the writing that's interesting is it allows me and others to fix what's wrong. There's something about writing about it that allows you to change in your thinking what happened.
And depending on what stimulated or writing about, you might actually wind up recalling a more positive or happier event. You also have the veteran has the option of reflecting around camaraderie and the better points, even even in the recall in the midst of the madness.
And if you've got a story that's been a bad story for 50 years, and you sit down to write about it, and you suddenly say, well, wait a minute. It was a terrible tragedy, but old Will, he did something pretty wonderful, and you write about old Will and how wonderful he did it. Suddenly, there's an aspect to the story that's positive, and that's not just totally negative. And son of a gun, if you just haven't changed history.
And especially when you get to tell some stories that mean a lot to you, some stories. Some things may have happened, may have hurt you, some things that may have made you who you are. And when you're able to express that, it is very therapeutic because some people have problems communicating through words, and this is another way to communicating, and it's depending on what it is, it's freeing. Some things you need to let go, and this is one way to let it go without even consciously thinking about it.
I had a great time doing it, and I just want to encourage any of the other people, male or female, military or civilians, to write. It's good for you and it's good for the soul.
I've seen it with guys in the writing workshop they come in and they sit down and they read something and by the time the session's over, they're standing straighter. They're talking differently, and basically it's changed them. It's turned them around, and it's magic. And I don't think there's any time I've seen veterans in therapy groups. I don't think I've seen it work that way. I don't think I've ever seen it work to the point where it says I've got a handle on it. I'm in charge. I'm in control. And so much of what seems to happen with people who are struggling with the past is the feeling of frustration and not being in control. And the writing puts you in control. With the writing, you can be anywhere and you can do anything, and you're suddenly in charge, and it's magic.